So we're still waiting on a few people to come in. I was going to say Raymond just got on. I thought maybe he wanted Delight to take it. Since you didn't have to open the meeting, I thought maybe he was hoping you'd close it this time.
I might not be able to have my my camera on the whole time tonight, so I hope he's not leaving it.
He just jumped on, but I was totally thinking, it's gonna be Delight closing the meeting this time.
Are we all here now? Yeah, I think so.
Yep, I think we're all here. And we're live streaming. So
Okay, here we go. Mr. Jackson, will you be able to resume the meeting, please?
Yes, indeed. Thank you. Thank you for asking. Reconvene to open session at 7:03 p.m. Public report of action taken in closed session. No action taken in closed session. Flag salute. Director Smith, are you available to lead us in our flag salute? Pretty please. You might be muted.
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, awesome job. All right, that leads us to community input on agendized items. The public may comment on items listed on the agenda included in the consent calendar, presentation discussion committees, and action item. Do we have any community input on agendized items?
we do not.
All right, that leads us to item 6, items for consent, minutes from the regular meeting of OPA Board of Directors on July 15th, 2021 is item A. Personnel report, item B. MOU for student teaching with Azusa Pacific University, item C.
And for item B, Mr. Jackson,
Yes,
one typo on the last section, promotions and changes, Anne Marie Allen, should be from part-time to full-time. There's a typo, says part-time. Thank you.
got it. Okay, with the modification from Mr. Barley, may I have a motion to approve the consent items in sections A, B, and C, please?
I make a motion to approve items A, B, and C.
Thank you, Director Kagu. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Director Travis. So we'll have a roll call vote. Director Agarwal,
Aye.
Director Jackson, aye. Director Kagu,
Aye.
Director Smith,
Aye.
and Director Travis.
Aye.
Okay, the consent items are approved unanimously. Items 7, Executive Director Report.
Well, I just wanted to say that it was an amazing start to our 2021-2022 school year. Dr. Henry is going to talk a little bit about our opening days with our staff and our professional development, but we had a great new staff training. We do have quite a few new staff members this year with our virtual learning program, and all of our new teachers there, and a new counselor, a new speech and language pathologist, just multiple new roles. And so it was great meeting all of those new staff members. And then, doing our professional learning in person this year and being able to bring everybody back on campus. And we did some great community building activities. And then, just culminating in the last 2 days with being able to bring our students back on campus and see how excited the kids are, see all the parents and how excited they were, and dropping their kids off and taking pictures, and just being able to walk through the classrooms. And we're really focusing kind of on the start of this school year, because we have kids who haven't been in a classroom in 18 months. And then, some kids who did hybrid and a little bit of in-person last year, but just kind of really focusing on welcoming kids back to school, getting, kind of back into the routine of going to school. And the kids have been just wonderful and so excited. So really, this is our first week of school. I know everybody's tired, and we're one day away from the end of the first week, but it's just been a great start to the school year, and we're looking forward to continuing everything for the rest of the school year, and just continuing to build on what we've started this year, and just have an amazing year.
Okay, well said. That leads us to director's reports. So Director Agarwal.
Thank you, Director Jackson. I just wanted to thank everyone for their hard work. I know there's a lot that goes into the hiring and all of the details to get us prepared. And I just wanted to sincerely thank you for all your hard work. And I know it's a lot, and I know we don't get to see everything that you do, but I truly, truly appreciate it. I also wanted to thank our finance group and all the work that we're doing. I wanted the directors to also know that we have it on our minds to, when we talk about spending our incremental extras or surplus, that we want it to be aligned with our strategic plan. So it's on the radar, and once we get everything together, we'll be discussing that as a group. So I just wanted to mention that as well. And that I also wanted to thank the Academic Outcomes Committee members, the teachers, and the staff that are working hard on all this pre-work and having discussions and taking time out. We really appreciate your hard work. So that's it. Thank you so much.
Okay, and if you could pretty please reorganize the order of the list, because I hate going after somebody who's so articulate and says all my thoughts so perfectly. So I would just like to say what she said and more of what she said. All I hear is about the level of excitement and happiness and joy that everybody's getting from being at the school. I love it. That's all. Or Director Kagu, if you're ready.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I didn't hear you. I wasn't sure if you went for me or not. Yeah, thank you. I echo what both of you said. I mean, I think I was personally at pickup and drop off yesterday, and then pick up today. I know there's a little bit of some excitement yesterday evening at the SOC campus. Hope everybody's okay. But I heard today's pickup and drop off went really well. Good job on that. And I think we were hoping that we would have a more normal year than last year, but it doesn't appear to be so. And I think we're going to face our own set of challenges this year. totally want to acknowledge staff and teachers. You guys are the front lines, and whatever we can do as your backup, let us know, and we're happy to do it. I also want to take this time to briefly connect with you guys about the focus group that we had last month, July the 21st. I believe the staff is preparing a more detailed report that'll be distributed to the full board, but I want to give you guys a little bit of highlights. Just for context, we'd either asked for or arm twisted some of the long-time OPA parents. I believe we went with parents who were in the school before 2016, and we kind of convened a focus group just with those parents who are, who've sort of seen, for lack of a better word, the old OPA. And we had a focused discussion with them, 25 minutes each, of focusing on academic and socio-emotional, whatever the kid learns or faces, our OPA champions learn or face in classroom. Then another 25 minutes on enrichment, what are additional elements that get added, and then the parent experience. Those are the three topics that we sought feedback on. As I said, we'll have staff is preparing a more detailed report, but I'll kind of point out the highlights for the group. First one is, it's clear, I think we've been asking this question before as a group, we have a pretty good understanding of it, but the question that often is asked is, who's our peer group? And the common theme across was, a peer group is not a public school down the street, a peer group is not another charter school, a peer group is perhaps a private school, right? And so there's this notion of having a private school feel, but in a public school setting. So that was one of the considerations that that the parents talked about. There was also this notion of how can we make MI more intentional and more obvious when how do we train our teachers, or even if our teachers are trained, how do we make it more obvious to our stakeholders, whether they're new parents or existing parents, how are we going to use MI? The idea here is, everybody learns differently, and that was sort of a big theme that we had before, and they want to make sure that we continue to reinforce that we customize the learning and give opportunities for folks on to learn differently. One particular example was this notion of learning through projects, which I thought kind of came across all three groups. It feels like it. Every student had a project at every grade level that they sort of shepherded through for a period of time and learned how to manage and so on. So that was a interesting idea. Stand and deliver, Raymond's favorite topic. There's so much more to stand and deliver than what I've heard from you guys. So it's, and again, I don't want to talk about stand and deliver, but I want to talk about the benefits that people saw, and then whether we do it this way or a different way, that's fine. But the benefit was getting respect for the adults, having the confidence to stand up and speak about what you're doing, being able to project your voice and so on. So there's, a lot of parents talked about how the introverted kids learn to sort of be more open and be more expressive, which I thought was quite interesting. There was obviously a longing for arts master, librarians, computer teachers, science labs, dedicated science lab, dedicated science teachers, and so on. I'll pass that on to the academic outcomes committee to decide sort of which ones you want to, which outcomes you want to focus on. Just this notion of academic rigor, homework boards and making sure that homeworks are done, making sure that everybody knows what the grades are and how are they going to focus on the grades and so on. So that was sort of the last theme in the academic and socio-emotional. On the enrichment side, a big theme that came about was field trips. I think there's a serious longing for field trips at all grade levels. Honestly, some of the field trips from the past seem to be, I couldn't believe that we actually took champions to Oxford in England, which I probably wouldn't recommend now, but that was that was sort of a longing about field trips and how do we get back to that? Of course, COVID is going to throttle that a little bit. They had this really interesting idea about how middle school kids mentor first graders and second graders, and it's a two-way street. First and second graders get to be mentored by older kids, and older kids get experience mentoring younger kids. So that was it appears that we continue to do that, but that was an interesting concept about how do you sort of connect the school across the grades? That was pretty interesting. The big thing was about university and how do we sort of strengthen the university teams a lot more, a spiritware and again, that was the idea that was used, but the outcome was a sense of belonging to a group outside of sort of the champions, the overall champions. Uniforms was a big theme, and I think we are, again, uniforms was to sort of inculcate this sense of pride in our champions about OPA, right? And so that was the outcomes that, and then, all these enrichment programs of chess club and intramural sports, noon sports, taekwondo, world languages, and so on, which again, we will pass it on to the academic outcomes committee and let them sort of figure out what makes sense. And then the last bit about enrichment was prep for university. So university tours, getting people to believe in what is a university, getting used to the fact that we need to go to a university and so on and so forth. That was sort of the last theme that I got from the enrichment. And parent involvement, it's a COVID thing. There was an overwhelming sense that parents didn't know how to help. And they want to help a lot more. They want to be more present on campus, COVID aside. And so, we have an interesting problem, which is that parents want to help. So we have to just figure out how to harness that, as opposed to usually where parents, there aren't enough volunteers to do. So there was one bit that it was pretty clear across all three groups that parents really seem to yearn for the days when you are on campus helping out and helping the teacher and helping the school overall. There's questions about fundraising and how we can make it more specific to a program. So we talked about that. And then, there were some comments about, websites and branding and so on. And so, obviously there's work that I know Dr. Kannan, you and your team are working on branding and websites and so on. And, I think it's probably time for us to also think about, getting some professional help from IT resources to do websites in the future. But we'll create a more detailed report and, find space next board meeting to talk about the outcomes. Again, I'm by no means suggesting that we bring back everything that they brought about, but I was very, very clear about making sure that we identify what outcomes people are looking for and what's the best way to do it in today's world, right? And so that's sort of the summary view. So no other comments. Sorry, I took a little longer than I expected.
Okay, Director Smith.
I will save my comments about academic outcomes committee for later in the agenda, but I did want to echo the sentiments expressed earlier, the thanks for everyone's hard work. Welcome back, staff, students, parents, super excited to be starting another school year. It was really excited to see us represented in the community. I saw there was a donut being made in our honor out with the teal colors. So that's really awesome to see OPA out in the community in different ways. So thank you for those who coordinate those types of things because they do matter. And I think also I wanted to just share a congratulations to our fellow director, Travis, with her new family member. So congratulations and amazing that you're here with us tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, how about that, Director Travis? Your turn.
Okay, how do I top all of this? I just want to echo everybody's comments and thank everybody for all their hard work to get ready for reopening the school and all the effort that is taking to get the school going. It's very, very exciting. The only other thing I would add is congratulations to OPA SOC on being nominated for the best of Orange County. So I just think that's really cool. I hope everybody votes and votes and votes so that we get it. But congrats to everybody and thank you for all your hard work. I know it's been a big undertaking to get ready for the school year to start. So.
Okay. That concludes the director reports and we move on to item 9, items for presentation. School opening reports, Mr. Bridges and Mrs. Alvarado.
Okie dokie, let me share my screen. Hello, everyone. I hope everybody's having a wonderful night. Mr. Bridges and I are going to present, and he is going to get started.
Miss Alvarado said I had slide one, but she took it. So good evening. This is your Chancellor Board presentation, first board presentation of the school year. We're going to be short and sweet. First, we wanted to just kind of hit on our enrollment numbers. SOC is sitting at seat-based 841. And Saddleback Valley is almost at 600. So we're super excited with our enrollment. And again, this is just seat-based. Our virtual academy is growing. It's fantastic. Our teachers, seat-based and virtual teachers, are planning and excited, and so are our students. So that is our first slide. We just wanted to quickly share our seat-based enrollment numbers. Next, we want to get to kind of the beginning of the year. I was joking with Ms. Alvarado and the rest of the executive admin team that once the kids get to campus, it's easy, right? The hard work is the planning and getting everything in order and the receiving of the curriculum and unpacking of the curriculum and the delivering of the curriculum. So there's a lot of things going on and moving prior to the kids arriving to campus, and it takes a team effort. Ms. Alvarado will have a thank you slide at the end. So at SV, we had our in-person, or I guess a campus beautification day has to be in person, right? So we had a campus beautification day on the 6th and 7th of August. It was a fantastic turnout. We were really pleased. I would think we had over 100 volunteers come out those 2 days, cleaning backpack racks, cleaning windows, hanging backpack hooks, gardening, raking wood chips, getting rid of spider webs, redoing our garden area. So when we start the garden club, we have a fresh new start. So we were super excited about the turnout. I want to thank our Honor Society for planning and setting up. We had a used uniform sale, which was well attended. And there was a different buzz on our campus. We knew it was going to be a great beginning of the year just by the turnout that we had, and the smiles and the laughter and just everybody pitching in. It kind of felt like the first year of a school opening, and we were super excited for that event. Next, we have our Meet Your Professor Day again. We were super excited to have a in-person Meet Your Professor Day. The teachers really liked the staggered setup that we had, and talking with a lot of the parents, they did as well. Maybe next year we don't have so many windows. Maybe we cut it down a little bit, but having the staggered event really allowed the professors to spend individual time with students and families without feeling rushed of getting through the line. A great turnout. Our teachers were happy, our professors were happy, parents were happy, kids were happy, waving to each other, seeing each other for the first time in person, some in 16 months. So it was a great event, a great way to start the school year. And then we have our first day of school. It's Thursday, right? We had a 3-day school week. It feels like a full week. First day, fantastic. Our kids were super excited. Our classrooms looked great. I want to thank our Honor Society for supplying the balloon arch, the balloons around campus, the welcome signs with our PBIS 3 Bs: be safe, be responsible, be respectful. And also our Honor Society for buying every student bracelet with the 3 Bs on it, so they can remember our PBIS expectations. And one other person I would like to thank is Mrs. Morosky for providing the Welcome Back Champion sign. So thank you to her for providing that. Our drop off was a little longer than expected on the first day, but it was because we had a great balloon arch and a Welcome Back Champion sign that everybody had to get a picture with. So It was a great day. We are super happy. The campus is alive again. The teachers are happy. The kids are happy. Thank you to executive administration for being on campus the first 2 days of the week. It's great to see you in the classrooms, for the teachers to see you, and to help out identify some issues and pick up and drop off, and have discussions and fine tune our pick up and drop off so we can get our families in the parking lot and out of the parking lot as safely and quickly as possible.
Good evening, everyone. This is Chancellor Alvarado. Our Meet Your Professor is very similar to SV. Lots of families, hundreds of families were there. The stagger time was definitely very helpful for our families to make connections and really take the time to get to know their professors. So families were able to have conversations with our students, and our families, our professors were very excited because we got to see our students for the first time, many of them for the first time on campus. Our parents were anxious because they had not been on campus in a very long time. So this was a great event. As you can see in these photos, our professors took the time. They really go out of their way, and they just really plan and think in, about every little detail. And each of our professors provided a university shirt for our students, and they also put together little baggies and goodies for our students to have so that they can remember their university, and also with little messages from each of their professors. We had a great event, great turnout. Parents I could tell even behind their masks that they had a huge smile on their face, and they were enjoying the evening, the afternoon. It was a hot day, but we survived it, and it was a wonderful day. We can move on to the next one. The first day of school, the much anticipated day. We were so excited. First things first, donuts on the first day of school. That is a tradition at OPA SOC that we wanted to make sure we kept alive, and we will continue to keep alive for many, many years to come. This tradition is usually we have 800 donuts on campus, teal donuts for each of our students that we distribute. Due to COVID restrictions last year, Honor Society came up with the idea of having it, partnering with a local donut shop so that we can offer teal donuts on the first day, and that's what we did again this year. As you can see in the photos at the top, I stopped by at around 7 in the morning and just welcomed some families, was able to take pictures with them on the first day. And I don't know if you noticed, but I had my teal, my donut print blouse on that first day. Kids loved it, and they were excited, and parents thought that it was really cute that I was representing on our first day of school. On one of the photos, the group photo, is our ASB students. So quickly, I headed over to the campus to get the day started, and our ASB team was helping us at the beginning of the school day to help us walk every single of our students, the little ones, as well as students who were new, who needed extra help getting to their classroom on the first day. Without them, we could not have done it. It was as smooth as possible getting everyone to their classes. The parking lot was a little bit crazy as expected because it was the first day, but the rest of the day was smooth. The rest of the pictures, if you could see, I was able to walk to every single one of our classrooms on the first day, which is just the thing that I like to do, just to see what is going on. And I was able to take pictures of little corners and areas in our classrooms. And every single one of our professors had either a library or they had positive messages in every corner. And I just wanted to capture that and share with you what our students are experiencing in their classrooms. So it was a wonderful day. I'm excited. We're excited. We're on day number 2, and it's going to be a great year. So as it was shared earlier, we have been nominated for the best charter school in Orange County. I'm so excited. We are going to win. I'm just saying that. It goes on record, but we cannot win if you guys don't vote. So every single one of you, please commit yourselves to making sure that you guys vote. You can go to our website. There's a little widget on our website on the left-hand side that says vote. Just click on it and go straight to charter schools. You can vote for other schools, but for other sections, private schools and public schools, but make sure you go to the charter school section. There's about 4 or 5 other charter schools, but we are the best and we are going to win. So thank you so much. That concludes our report. Actually, there's one more slide. We want to thank every single one of our supporters, which is all of you, board members. We know that you guys do a lot of things behind the scenes. So I just want to make sure I acknowledge, first of all, every single one of you, because we know that there is a lot that takes place, that things that most people don't get to see or hear about ever. So we just know that you guys do a lot to support and provide everything that we need for our school. Our custodial staff has worked tremendously throughout the summer to make sure every single one of from the chairs to the trash cans to everything that needs to be placed and cleaned, it was there. So we thank the custodial staff for that. Office managers, registrars, making sure that we registered our students, that we had paperwork submitted, and that we were able to have the numbers that we have on campus. IT support for getting us to where we need to be. There's still a lot going on that they're helping us and supporting us with. Admin team, the deans, Dean Velez and Dean Marlette, both of them have been working throughout the summer on and off, making sure into the late evenings, making sure that our master schedules were getting done and lots of other things. Dr. Kernan, of course, our leader, Dr. Henry, Mr. Barley, and Ms. Lukaroth, thank you for everything you do. We know what you do. We may not say thank you enough, but just know that we are always grateful for everything that you do. And our parents, of course, we can't do any of this without our parents' support. You guys have been very supportive throughout all these challenges that we have faced, especially the opening of another school year with lots of restrictions and other things. But know that we are going to be working together as a team, and we are going to make this a great year. So it takes a significant amount of work, time, enthusiasm, and love for OPA to be able to have our campus ready for the first day of school. And all I can say, thank you. And that concludes our report.
Yep. And we have to add the professors, right, for being flexible.
Of course.
And
yes,
excitable and hardworking, because they made Meet Your Professor, their classrooms made the first day of school.
Mhm.
And without their help and before school and after school patrol, we aren't able to get through that. So thank you to the professors. And I'm pretty excited that Miss Alvarado has a donut blouse, and I need to get something to outdo that at the next meeting. So that it concludes our presentation, and I will stop sharing my screen now.
So I have a question about where do we go to vote again? I think I went to the website and I don't see the widget that you were describing. So let's get the word out so that everybody knows where to go to vote. And then yeah.
I will do that.
So where do we go? You want to say it right
Just
now?
go to the website. Let me just double check. It should be on the left-hand side unless you see a widget. Are you doing it on your phone or
No, on my browser.
Okay. I need to go.
Are you on the SOC site or the OPA main site? I think it's on the SOC page.
The SOC one.
So if you click school or switch schools or go to the SOC school.
Got it.
Thank you, Mr. Bridges.
And Ms. Alvarado, along that same topic, how often can an individual vote? And
Every day until, and it's on here, I believe it's September 6th. It says vote for SOC, and the link is there. And until September 6th, you can vote every single day until September 6th.
thank you.
Yes.
And
Sorry, I can vote more than once?
Yes. No, you vote
Oh.
once per day.
Okay.
Once per day.
Once per day. I
Tell
can vote once per
everybody-
day?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, until
Oh,
September
okay.
6th.
So vote every day.
Every single day, please. I've been doing it every morning. As soon as I
Is
arrive
that for
at
the
work.
recall election too? Can we vote every single day through the recall election? Is that possible? I mean, that sounds like funny. Yeah.
That's a girl. I love it. Okay, that's fantastic. So that link, are we sharing that link out, Amy? Are we doing that?
Yeah, so we'll also put it on the main website, but like Denise said, it's on our social media accounts as well as the SOC website. And I know that Chancellor Alvarado has also been putting it in her Sunday messages.
Honor Society has been promoting as well.
Yeah, so we're trying to get as many people out there voting as possible.
You should add it to the SV emails as well so that they can support it.
Good idea, Chancellor Bridges.
Sorry, I was getting water. Yes, I will do that.
All right. Okay, so that leads us to curriculum and instruction, Dr. Henry.
Hi, thank you. Let me share my screen. I'm excited to give you an overview. Just 1 second. Let's see, I can do this one. An overview of our professional learning for the last few days. It's been pretty exciting. Sorry, 1 second. I haven't used a real PowerPoint instead of a Google Point in a long time. Okay, here we go. It should be coming up. Can everyone see that? Yes? Anyone?
Yes, we can see
Yes,
it.
yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, great. So our opening days for our professional learning, I was calling it our week of welcome. I like that name. I hope it sticks. So we started last week on Wednesday with a new professor staff orientation workshop. We do have a lot of staff members. We had 21 people in attendance. And then also we've had new staff that came on board since then. So we've been onboarding them all week. We started a day with refreshments. Actually, for the whole week, I'd like to thank Ingrid Lara. She's been bringing refreshments and setting up lunches and breakfasts. And both of our Dean Verlez, and both of our chancellors, Bridges and Alvarado, presented at most of these events. So instead of thanking them on each slide, just an overall thank you for everything they did to help make the week a success, as well as our leadership team, Dr. Kernan, Mr. Barley, Eva Opanisic for presenting, and Rosa Palomino and Trish Lucra, for presenting at most of these events. So for our new professor staff orientation, we started with a video that was created by our teachers. It was called What Makes OPA OPA. This was done last year, but we updated some of the information this year, so not to confuse people, because it was a little more virtual learning oriented, and some names and faces have changed since then. We also had community building, nuts and bolts, and then a special thank you to 2 of our professors who, after sharing the video, also did an activity with our new professors, and that would be Jacqueline Whitehead and Bianca Buss. So we had teachers there helping to lead. It was a really high energy. Then for our second day of our week of welcome was all staff on August 12th. And we started our day with some community building activities. We did some getting to know you circles because we had both of our staffs together and it had been a while. And then also we do have so many new staff members. We had our nuts and bolts portion where we had our special populations and how to serve our students. So that would be our English learners, students on 504s, and our students in the Scholar Academy. And that was presented by Deirdre Didion, our TOSA, Karen Kaufman, education specialist, and Chancellor Bridges with the 504, as well as Dean Merlette. We had our executive update by Dr. Kernan, also a COVID update, really talking about those mandates, and then updates by myself, our CAO, Mr. Barley, our COO, Eva, HR, Ms. Palomino for fiscal, and our chancellors both did some updates as well. And then we turned a sit and get into more of a conference style professional learning opportunity. So this was Thursday, and we did 2 of 3 small sessions that all teachers would go through, just not all at once. So we did our multi-tiered system of supports. I presented that, but along with our intervention teachers, Ashley DiCarlo and Sutton Edwards helped with that. For our positive behavioral interventions and supports PBIS, that was both of our deans, Dean Merlette and Dean Velez did that presentation. And then also social emotional learning breakout session, which was done by one of our counselors, Gretchen Plus. So that was Thursday. And as you heard from our chancellors, then Friday was Meet Your Professor. It was quite an exciting day. I was thrilled to be able to go to both campuses to really see this in action. You know, I being new to the organization, I just could not have been more impressed with our professors, with our administrative teams for all the work that they do to prepare. It was a wonderful event and a wonderful way to welcome our families. As I heard Chancellor Bridges say, I heard over and over again that the professors did appreciate the extended time window because they didn't feel like, they felt like they could connect more with the families one-on-one instead of having a really long line and having to rush through it. So really good feedback from that day. I loved seeing it firsthand for sure. And then that brings us to the next Monday on August 16th. I guess that was this Monday. It's been quite a week. We started with a new professor check-in. This day we were at SOC. We'd been switching back and forth between the 2 campuses, so all of our staff could get to know both campuses. But we had a new professor check-in because we knew that we welcomed our new professors on Wednesday, then they had a full day of professional learning on Thursday, then Meet Your Professors, and they might need a check-in and for us to kind of wrap around them a little bit. So we started the morning that way. Again, Ingrid Lara, our administrative assistant, provided a nice spread. Our professors did their final small group breakout. So of the 3 I mentioned on Thursday, MTSS, PBIS, and social emotional learning. So they had rotated and their final group was that morning. And I heard a lot of positive feedback about this. We did some differentiated professional learning where our professors got to choose. So we know we have a lot of veteran professors who are really skilled at the multiple intelligences, but we have a lot of new staff who had not experienced that yet. So they got to choose 2 different sessions from these that you see, and these were done by our teachers, staff members. So our multiple intelligences breakout session was done by Professor Christina Rehm and Professor Brittany Baez, formerly Brittany Batchelor, did our MI breakout session. We had community building circles, which was done by our new director of student services and accountability, Patricia Lukaroth. GATE, depth and complexity icons, which is a favorite of mine. We had our GATE coordinators presenting that, Heather Franey and Katie Saller. We had a session on intentional teaching for our English learners, Scholar Academy students, and students on a 504. And that was done by our EL TOSA, Deirdre Didion, and also ed specialist Karen Kaufman. And then I presented on how to run professional learning communities. And then Monday afternoon, our staff went back to their sites and had staff meetings with specific information of kind of the opening of school with their own staff. And then our professional learning final day was on Tuesday. And we had an iReady training for our math curriculum for all K-5 professors. And then all of our middle school professors had some different differentiated collaboration opportunities that were laid out for them. Many of them, we had both SOC, SV, and our virtual professors collaborating together because it's real important right now that they stay aligned. We gave some time for our physical education professors to meet with their physical education aides and get their equipment ready, as well as for band. So we did a lot of differentiated things for our world language teachers, and then all of our professors had planning time in the afternoon. So that rounded out our week of welcome for our staff, and of course brought us to the first day of school, which was yesterday, and a wonderful day. I'm going to stop sharing my screen if you have any questions.
I think you should tell the champions that the teachers had a lot of studying to do before they started school. They would probably be amused by it, that they had to come to class before they had to come and teach.
They did. That's a really good point. They did. And I hope you see that a lot of the different opportunities that they had and breakout sessions really aligned to the work that we're doing with the Strategic Planning Committee, as well as our Academic Outcomes Committee, and really being intentional with the things that we're hearing in our focus groups and the things that we value here at OPA, and making sure that they're real when we walk through all of our champion classrooms.
Okay, any additional questions from my fellow directors? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the last item for presentation, OPA Employee Handbook. Mr. Barley.
Thank you. Just a few slides updating the employee handbook. We do this every year, and there are mandated pieces of the handbook that we update through our labor attorney at YMC. So we're going to share that, as well as some updates to just some management related things. So I'm going to go through those. Thank you. So under the mandated conditions of employment, equal opportunity, policy prohibiting unlawful harassment, discrimination and retaliation, there's a new provision for all employers for sex stereotype. I'm not going to read all of this, but it will be included in the new handbook that employees will receive upon the board's approval tonight. There's another mandated update having to do with the Family Care and Medical Leave Act. So the wording is now including CFRA, the California Family Rights Act. And again, our employment attorney has included it throughout that entire section that was existing. It's quite long and quite detailed. For the board members, we did include both the red line version and the cleaned up version that will be presented to employees. So that is the version, that is the final version, draft version with your approval. We also have a mandated section on victims of abuse leave. And this shares that OPA provides reasonable and necessary unpaid leave and other reasonable accommodations to employees who are victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, stalking, or other crimes. And then this provision goes on to give more details around that particular leave that's now available and mandated. And then when we look at some of OPA's updates to the handbook, some wording changes and some additional benefits based on what we felt was the right thing to do. PSL under OPA sick time updates, it's accrued and set forth below during the time actually worked. It's not accrued during unpaid leave of absence. For full-time employees, we clarified the language in a better way to make it more clear to understand. And annual use of accrued paid sick leave is limited to accrual during that school year. So we really just took the language, made it more clear, For part-time employees, we did update and it's additional time for the usage. Employees may use a maximum of 30 hours of their accrued paid sick leave to make it more parallel with full-time employees. So these are updates that are beneficial to employees. We're happy to share that. And then bereavement and PDL updates. Bereavement just clarified the language, full-time exempt and full-time non-exempt. That was what was changed in that provision. And then finally, the pregnancy disability leave sick time, which the board for the previous 2 years had extended as a pilot program to our employees. We're requesting that the board approve that this be now, having served very well our employees over the last 2 years as a pilot, that are being included in the handbook as a benefit to employees, with the option to utilize an additional 2 weeks, up to 80 hours of an eligible employee's sick time bank that they've already accrued, that they can use during an approved period of pregnancy disability leave. That's been a benefit that our employees have favored, and it's been used, not in all cases, but in most cases. And I hope the board sees clear to continue that and approve it as a part of the handbook this year. That's all I have, just as a way of sharing the next steps. With the board's approval of these small changes, we don't have nearly as many changes as we did in the past 2 years. Then the employees will receive, all OPA employees will receive an electronic copy for them to review and to sign, come to HR with any questions, and then it'll be on file. It's a part of what we do every year. I want to thank YMC, the employment attorney there, who vetted everything that you see here tonight, as well as Eva Opanisic in HR, who worked with me. Dr. Nan looked at it as well. So we think it encompasses the changes that are needed for this year. So any questions from the board?
Just want to add one question about the PSL. Just purely out of curiosity, the sick leave for the full-time employees don't roll over, but the part-time employees roll over. Is that did I read that correctly?
For sick time, what happens is there's a cap on what can be used, and then it's saved for an employee's sick time bank for their career. So education, what happens is it's used actually for retirement calculations. So that's why there's a cap, because we want people to save sick time for their retirement.
Okay, maybe I misread that slide. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else?
Okay, any additional questions from the directors?
I just had one. I know that when we updated like the student handbook and the other handbooks, that we had said in there about like making sure to check the website for the latest policies for OPA in its entirety. I didn't see that referenced anywhere in the employee handbook, and I wasn't sure if that was something that you were going to be adding as well.
And just repeat that one more time. I'm sorry.
So when we had discussions about like the student handbook and all the other types of handbooks that we're doing for the OPA community, we had discussed having a section in there about all the OPA policies as a reference point. And that was something that I thought you might want to also add to the employee handbook, so that the staff as well can make sure that they have that information also.
It is separate. I know it's posted.
Yeah,
but it's
but
not,
having like a link or something to say, look at the latest policies,
I think we can do that and facilitate that. That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we put it at the end of the student handbook, so we can just kind of use the same language that we put in the very last page of the student handbook. It basically just says, please refer to other policies that are available on the OPA website. So we can definitely do that.
Thank you.
Okay, any additional questions for Mr. Barley from the directors? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to items for discussion, board norms. Amy, are you going to go over this?
Yes, and I am 1 sec so I can open them up. So when we created our board norms, we had said that we were going to kind of regularly go over them and make sure that we didn't want to make any adjustments to them. And so we put it on the agenda just as a discussion item and to see if there were any, because we created these over the summer. So it's been a couple of months, a couple of board meetings since we approved these. So just to have a discussion to see if there's anything now that we've been utilizing these, if there's anything that we wanted to highlight or change or make any adjustments to. So so I have the first 11 up here on the screen. And so just, I wanted to see if any of the board members had any comments or anything that they wanted to state about these first 11. I know that it was brought up that we would change our names during the board meetings and make sure that we were addressing board members as member Smith or member Jackson. And so we've made that adjustment so that everybody has those correct titles for our Zoom meetings. So is there anything else in here that anybody has any input on or anything that they'd like to maybe adjust?
Well, I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to review them, because I know we spent a lot of valuable time to work together to make these commitments. And it's a good reminder of what we committed to. And I appreciate the opportunity to own that. And also there's 2 number 4s. So I'll just note that.
2 number 4s. So I will make
not
that
a big deal, but happy to do 4 times 2 times 5, whatever works. But yeah, overall, I think, I see a commitment to these in the group. And like you said, like with how we address each other and trying to be a little more maybe professional in open meetings and things. I appreciate that because we want to set, good examples for those that we are serving. So thank you.
All right, I will scroll down and hopefully there's not a duplicate on this page. So this would be the second set.
So Dr. Kannan, I would propose adding one additional board norm. And so let me know when is the time to discuss that after people have had a chance to react to this. I'd love to suggest one more.
Perfect. So are there any anything to the existing norms? All right, Paul.
Okay, so I would start off with a caveat first. I wrote this down because I want to be precise about it. I want to start off with a caveat that every parent or any stakeholder should be able to reach out to any individual board member and have a conversation, any individual or a subset of the board members. So I'll start with that I have no intentions of sort of suggesting otherwise, that everybody should feel free to reach out to individual board members as they feel appropriate. The proposal I have for a board norm would be if there are emails or communication that are addressed to the full board and which has relevance for the full board, but a stakeholder has chosen to only send it to a subset of the board, then as soon as practicable, I would encourage us to, and I would rely on, I think we have to, as a board, probably make an attempt to say, okay, this email seems to be addressed to the entire board. Or it's addressed to me, but it's probably relevant for the entire board. And I'm not going to make the assumption that it was only sent to me. So I'm going to over communicate and communicate. I mean, we do that very well with the executive director. And I think there have been 2 instances where there's been a parent who sent addressing the entire board, but has only emailed it to 3 board members, right? To Member Jackson, Member Smith, and Member Travis. So Member Agarwal and I were left out, which again is the parents' right. And I'm not here to sort of discuss why they would do that. But what I would suggest is that as a board norm, it was the first email was a very critical topic, I think, which as a board we're going to face in the future. And so I think that I didn't know about it. I just came across it, and I wouldn't have ever known that a parent had expressed concern about that topic. So it'd be helpful as a matter of future course that when, again, I'll repeat one more time, it's like every parent should be able to write to whoever they want to write to. So I'm by no means discouraging that, but if a topic is relevant for the entire board, or if the email or a communication is addressed to the entire board but hasn't been sent to the entire board, I would suggest that we find a practical way, and as soon as practical. I mean, obviously not like immediately, but at the appropriate time, make sure that the entire board is communicated to. That would be my suggestion of my proposal.
I 100% support you, obviously.
Can I ask, I'm always trying to be careful, like not to address the full board and violate the Brown Act, like when we're in emails and things like that. So would it satisfy the request? Because I agree that we should all have the same set of information to work from, that we rely on the director to forward that on to the full board and make sure that the full board also sees their response to the parent, because oftentimes we are just forwarding it to the director to handle the response. Would that like satisfy what you're bringing up, Member Kagu?
Yeah, I believe so. I think so. I believe so. Yeah. I mean, the other way is that if one of us can email Dr. Kannan and say, hey, this seems to have been, I think we'll have to help Dr. Kannan out. I think sometimes it's only addressed to board members, right? So we have to probably help out, and we have to help each other out. But yeah, yes, that'll be very. I think it probably has to be Dr. Kannan who has to do the broader communication. So I agree with that.
So just maybe if we had a norm that all emails addressing the entire board will be shared with the ED. Well, actually, I was going to actually just say all emails that are sent to more than one board member, because if they're sending it to more than one board member, then it's somewhat assumed that they're sort of addressing the board. I don't know if that those would be shared with the executive director to be shared with the rest of the board in a timely manner. I'm trying to figure out, kind of how to say that, if it's shared with multiple members of the board, but some members are left out, kind of like what you were talking about, Member Kagu. So do we want to say if it's sent to more than one member of the board, then it would be kind of assumed that it is addressing the board and not just an individual board member?
And I'm okay leaving it to the judgment of my fellow board members. They get to decide if an email that was sent to 2 of them is relevant for the entire board or not, right? So I'm okay not being super prescriptive, but if in the judgment of that individual, whether in the executive team or on the board, it seems appropriate for the entire board, then I would suggest that gets forwarded to you, and then you forward it to the entire board. It's all about communication, right?
Yeah.
It's also critical thinking, right? It's like, does this pertain to the school as a whole? I think that's a good way to judge whether the whole board should be addressed in the email or be informed of it.
Yeah, but I'm not really super comfortable with saying, hey, if in your judgment, this applies to the whole board. I mean, other than, hey, does your kid have the same size jumper that my kid does? Can I buy it for $10? You know, that's very clearly a, you know, email for me only. But other than that, I feel like if we're going to do this, then we need to just say it. That if somebody emails you, forward it to Amy and we all see it.
Okay.
Because otherwise, sometimes the interpretation of what's important to everybody is in the beholder. You know, so what might not be like, it doesn't seem like it's a full board thing to me, but when you look at it, you're like, no, that's absolutely a full board thing. That's a whole school thing. And so rather than have people having to, you know, putting the burden on a person to say, you've got to consider in all facets and based on all perspectives that this is going to be considered, forget it. Just if you're going to send an email, just expect that we're going to forward it on to Amy and she's going to forward it on to everybody else. Now, the impact of that is that if somebody who wants to come to Director Smith with something because they feel like they're aligned with Director Smith, their thoughts and their vision and their perspective are aligned with Director Smith, they want to email her because they feel like she's going to be a champion for their cause or whatever. But that person might not email Director Smith knowing full well it's going to get sent to all the board members because maybe their kid is in the same class you're in and they're afraid that, you know, whatever they say is going to be handed off. I'm just trying to be sensitive to the people who I want to solicit input. I want as much input as possible and I want as few sort of barriers to people saying, well, I'm not going to send it to you because you're going to send it to Amy. She's going to send it to everybody and they're going to know I'm the one that reported it. I don't know.
So can I give you an example of what we're talking about? I'm just going to be very straightforward. It was an email about critical race theory and we weren't included on that email and they don't even know what we think about anything, but obviously it's a pertinent subject to our school. And it's something that we should be able to discuss with all of our information. So that's exactly what the email was about.
Understood. And I think the only true antidote to ever having somebody email Director Smith and it not get shared with every other person, and I keep picking on you, Amy, about, you know, I'm using you as an example, but it could be anybody, is to say, if you send something to Director Smith, she's going to forward it to Amy and Amy's going to send it to everybody. And everybody's going to see it. And that's just the way it is. This is, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay. I trust the judgment of my fellow board members. So I'm okay keeping it that, you know, I agree with you, Member Jackson, that we shouldn't set the expectation that people can come to individual board members, right? All I'm saying is that, you could share the topic, but maybe not the email, or share the source of that. That's perfectly fine. Right? I think all I'm saying is when there are discussions and responses being had, let's make sure if it's pertinent to the entire board that we communicate to the entire board. But I agree with you that we shouldn't be saying that every email that I get from any stakeholder, I'm going to send it to Dr. Kanan and she's going to send it to all five. So I personally am okay with trusting each of your guys' judgment and deciding, hey, this email appears to be a topic that the entire board needs to weigh in on, but I don't want to communicate this, who sent this to me, so I can anonymize it and send it to Dr. Kanan and say, hey, here's a topic that has come up. So we are addressing this. Let's make sure that everybody knows that's what a community member has said, right? So I'm okay with that, but if you guys feel you have to go to the extreme of forwarding everything, I don't need that. Me personally, I don't need that.
Yeah,
So-
but what I hear you saying is we don't need to go to the extreme of doing it, but I absolutely expect that if it's a topic that's of interest to the board, I'm going to receive it. And I'm saying Delight, Member Travis, she receives a ton of emails that I'm interested in because it comes up during these board meetings and she's like, people are talking about masks and they're saying this, and I'm saying, I haven't seen those emails. And so, Amy, are you seeing all these? Director Smith, are you seeing these emails? I'm not seeing any of those emails. So, but it's relevant. And so are we expecting that Delight is going to, every time a parent emails Delight, because it's about a mask wearing or not mask wearing or whatever, that is of interest to me. And so therefore that's going to be, forwarded to Amy and therefore forwarded to everybody. And so I guess what I'm saying is if we're going to do it, let's do it.
And I would just like to clarify, I think that there's times that we get emails as parents that are people emailing us because, it's like you were talking earlier about, they're selling a uniform, or things like that, or asking about kids' homework. And then there's policy and board items that we're being emailed about that needs to be shared with the entire board. My only other thought and comment is we don't have an OPA board email, like a general email for OPA board. And I honestly think that would also be a great way to help with the communication is that, instead of someone accidentally leaving someone off, but to have like an email that share to just OPA board at, opaschools.org might be a good way to help make communication even easier for our constituents to email us directly, to email all of the board directly.
And we can set that, we can easily set that up and put everybody on that. I think we could have, just kind of throwing this out there because we don't want to forward every time somebody asks Delight if she has an extra set of OPA khaki pants, but maybe all emails regarding matters under the purview of the board addressed to multiple board members will be forwarded to the executive director and shared with the rest of the board. And then we could also have the OPA board email address that people could use if they wanted to just email the board kind of as a unit. And then that could go, to myself and all of you. And then everyone would be seeing the exact same information from anybody, and nobody would have to worry about, parents wouldn't have to worry about having to, first of all, type in all of the board members' email addresses, but also accidentally leaving someone out or typing in a wrong email address for one board member. That way we can post that on the website as well for parents to use.
Let's take it one step at a time. I'm okay with saying, if an email says to OPA board members and it clearly does not include all board members, then send it. We can forget about all other emails for now. I don't want to get. I trust you guys' judgment to keep other board members. I trust my judgment to make sure that I'll know when to tell others, right? So maybe let's keep. Rather than prolong this issue, maybe keep it very simple. Both these emails were addressed to OPA board of directors, right?
Okay.
So it can't get any clearer than that parent intended to address the entire board of OPA. And if all 5 of us are on the board, then if two people are left out, whether inadvertently or not, doesn't matter, who cares? We're not discussing that. Then we will make sure that at the right time, the appropriate other board members are brought up to speed. Let's keep it simple, and let's not worry about forwarding every email. And I trust your guys' judgment to say, hey, look, this seems like something that it's only addressed to me, and you can choose to anonymize it, you can choose to forward it, or you can choose not to. I think that's perfectly fine by me.
So do we want, so since we're on the topic of the norms, do we want to make just sort of a general board norm that, like Paul said, all emails addressing the full board will be forwarded to the executive director and the rest of the board to be shared with the rest of the board members? I think we could leave it that general. If it's an email that's addressing the board as a whole, then there's that expectation that it would go to the entire board. And then we'll also set up that or give you access to that board email address as well.
I think that's.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, if it's titled Board of Directors and 2 or 3 or more or less are not on it, that is a good indication that it was meant to be sent to everyone. I agree with you, Paul. I think that's appropriate. I think we all kind of know, we're smart enough to figure out what's appropriate to send and share with the board.
not to overcomplicate the matter, but to me, this is bigger than just emails. So I don't know if our norm needs to be a little broader around communication and making sure board members have the pertinent information that they need. Because I'm going to just switch the example to what if the parent had called 3 board members and not 2 other board members? So does that mean we don't need to share the information just because it was a call versus an email? So I don't want to be too narrowly focused in our norm if it's not going to address the problem. Especially because I know since I'm not an OPA parent, there's a lot of things you all hear based on interactions you have with other parents and being on campus more that I'm not privy to. So that's why I'm thinking maybe we need to think a little bit broader.
So we could
and have the spirit of what we're talking about really included in the norm.
So we could change the emails to just kind of all communication. So that way it would cover if, if somebody, even if somebody's, at an event and comes up and shares something, I want all the board members to know and shares it with Denelli and shares it with member Kagu and 3 different board members at an event, then we would share that information with the other board members if they were addressing it as something that they were wanting the entire board to know. So we could change the emails to, all communications addressing the OPA board of directors will be shared with the executive director to be shared with the entire board in a timely manner. How's that? And we have to vote on this, so I can kind of wordsmith something and send it out to be voted on at the next board meeting.
If we're done with that, I actually had another norm that I would want to suggest adding. Our time is very precious, and I know we try to say to attend all board meetings, but I would love to make sure that we try to make a point of starting the meeting on time and coming to the meeting on time so that, we can actually move through the agenda items as quickly as we're supposed to. So, and I know there's one on here that says try to attend the meetings, but I would almost like to add the word attend the meetings on time so that we're not waiting for members to show up.
And we could add it as a separate norm, or it's norm 11, that is each board member will make every effort to attend all board meetings. And we could add, and be there on time, or we could make it a separate norm. What would you prefer?
It doesn't matter. I think it's more about, just trying to make sure that we're being respectful to everybody's time and really to have quorum so we can start the meetings.
So anybody else have whether we make it part of 11 or a separate one? I'm good either way.
I think, it's inevitable that something or the other is going to come up and we're going to be late. Rather than quoting it as don't come late, say as soon as we have a quorum, we start the meeting, right? Should we say that that way? That way, it's, life is, we're going to hit traffic when we go in person. So I would say when we hit quorum, we start the meeting. And if it's at 6, we start at 6. I would prefer to do it that way than say everyone should come on time. Sometimes it just happens, right? Life happens to all of us.
Or we could say if there's a quorum at the start time of the meeting, we will start the meeting, or kind of something like that, so that it's I think good point, Member Kagu. Just if we can kind of state it as as soon as we have a quorum at the start of the meeting, we will start the meeting on time or something.
I do thank you for letting me bring this board norm up. It's important for me that that all board members are considered equal by the stakeholders, and that we are a one unit, right? We don't have individual powers. And so I appreciate you guys hearing me out, and I look forward to seeing what the verbiage is. So thank you for that.
So I'll work on those two norms and adding those, and then we'll add that as an action item for the next meeting. Is there any other changes or any other norms that any of the members would like to bring up?
I guess, can I just say for follow-up, I mean, I think obviously we're all adults, and like I originally said, you know, need to take ownership of this and self-regulate, but also like, how do we not just make this a document that's shelved and then we go right back into our routines next meeting? That truly is a question. It's not like I necessarily have a solution in mind. I just am putting that idea out there, because I think we've all been in those situations where you spend thoughtful time thinking about norms and how we want to behave, but you know, habit takes over those intentions.
I think one idea that I had for, especially when we go back to the in-person meetings, and now that we have a kind of a boardroom, is having these norms posted so that they're visible, and visible for board meeting attendees as well as board members and staff. So that was one idea that I had for when we go back in person.
And I guess I'll just say, if I do something that's not congruent, please somebody pull me aside, text me. I'm open to feedback. I make mistakes, and just know that, you know, my intent is to honor these, because I so respect all of you and the work that we're doing. So please feel free to like give me feedback and know that I'm trying.
I echo that. Thank you, Member Smith. I as well am open to feedback and would love to be told if I was in any way offending or not, abiding by our agreed norms.
I concur.
All right. Any other discussion around the board norms? Okay, thank you. And we'll have those for the next meeting.
All right, items for action: approve the OPA Handbook 2021-2022. The OPA Employee Handbook that we just reviewed with Mr. Barley a few minutes ago. It's recommended that the Board of Directors approve action item A. May I have a motion, please?
I'll move to
make a
approve
motion
action
to-
item A.
I second it.
All right, so it's Director Smith, second Director Kugu. Will
And Member Jackson, there is one typo here. It should say 2021, 2022.
Okay. Sounds good. So what other discussion would we like to have about this? Any questions from the board?
I do. I just want to make sure I understand what's happening here. So basically, we're going to throw our name in with the bid that's already out there that Irvine School District did. So
No, this isn't that. This is just the employee handbook. We're going to
sorry.
It's okay. Always the curve buster, always ahead of the class here. Okay, so any questions about the employee handbook that Mr. Barley talked about previously? No questions. So we have a motion and a second. Then we'll do a roll call vote. Director Agarwal.
Aye.
Director Jackson, aye. Director Kugu. Director Smith.
Aye.
Okay, that's an aye from Director Kagu. Director Smith,
Aye.
Director Travis.
Aye.
All right, this motion carries unanimously. So that brings us to the much anticipated item B, approved piggyback contract with Irvine USD bid number 19/20-01 IT technology. As part of OPA's previous board approved technology refresh program for the purchase of 400 Chromebooks, it is in OPA's best interest to secure this purchase via Irvine USD piggyback bid pursuant to California Public Contract Code number 20118 and 20652, which authorize to lease data processing equipment, purchase materials, supplies, equipment, automotive vehicles, tractors, other personal properties without advertising for bids by utilizing another public agency's contract. It's recommended that the Board of Directors approve action item B. May I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve action item B.
I second.
Director Kagu, second Director Smith. Okay, let's chat about it. Pretty please.
That was Travis.
Oh, sorry. Director Kagu, primary, and Director Travis is secondary motion. All right. Who's anybody going to present on this? Dr. David? Dr. Amy? Doctor?
Mr. Barley or Miss
Ken.
Miss Palomino, would you like to?
Sure, I'll
Thank you.
yes. So I'll talk about this. So we have at the last board meeting, you guys approved the Chrome refresh, which is 400 Chromebooks, and it was about $156,000 dollar purchase. Because we are a public agency, we do have to follow public contract codes. So we have to follow certain bid limits, requirements, such as advertising for a bid for 2 weeks in a circulation within our school district. We have to, lay out a bid form with very detailed information of what is it that we want in our equipment. So Irvine has already done the work per se, and they put a clause in their bid that allows other schools, including charter schools, to piggyback off of this bid and this contract. Their board has awarded the bid to CDW, and that is the vendor that we are using to purchase these Chromebooks. So in order to just kind of make it following public contract code, our board has to also approve usage of this contract and that they have followed all of the requirements under this public contract code. So they did the advertisement, they put the bids out, they received 2 different bids from different vendors, different pricing. It's a very lengthy process. So thankfully, Irvine has, in essence, done the work, and they've allowed it to be a piggybackable bid. And so now we are using this, and it is in our best interest to use this contract to purchase these Chromebooks. And CDW actually quotes our Chromebooks in their quote, referencing this Irvine bid 1920 IT technology and peripherals. So.
Okay. Super. I love it when somebody else does a lot of work for us.
This also saves us some time in having to go out to bid. We do want to get those Chromebooks for our students as quickly as possible, but we also want to be able to qualify for the Emergency Connectivity Fund through E-rate, which could, like was mentioned at our last board meeting, get us about 60% of the cost reimbursed. So by doing this, we are following all of the guidelines to be able to use that E-rate money, but doing it in a way that will allow us to purchase those Chromebooks much more quickly by piggybacking on Irvine's contract.
So I noticed that the contract was done in 19 and it expires in December of 21. So with our buying, are we able to do what we need to by the end of this contract? Okay. And is Irvine going to do another one?
So we don't know what Irvine is going to do, but this contract is valid through December 2021. So because we have placed our purchase order with CDW, it as of now, before December 31st, it's still valid. So we can go ahead and use it up until December 31st. So even if the Chromebooks are delayed, let's say between now and then, or because our purchase order was processed before that December 31st, it's still valid. We could even place it December 30th if, you know, as an extreme case scenario, but yes, it's still valid.
Oh yeah, let's do that.
And then I have another question. Were you planning to do phased ones? Meaning, should we bring any purchases up to be part of this bid? You know, what's the plan? Are you planning to do anything past that December 31st date?
So right now, it looks like those 400 Chromebooks will get us where we need to be for this school year. And then that gives us time. You know, we don't need to buy more for this year, but that gives us time to either look at being able to be on other piggyback contracts if we need more Chromebooks next year, or also to go out to bid over the summer if we needed to do that and weren't able to be part of another school district's contract for next year. So this will get us through what we need for this school year. And since you had already approved the amount at the last board meeting to buy those 400 Chromebooks, we'll be able to purchase those right away and make sure that we get it as part of this bid.
I just have out of curiosity, does Capo and Saddleback do these as well? And would we be able to piggyback off of them?
I think what you'll see in the future is there may be other, you know, when we are in this position again, right? We'll be looking into kind of a host of other districts. They don't have to be adjoining districts that we might piggyback off of.
Perfect, thank you.
And I went ahead and I placed the link in the chat box of the bid document off of Irvine's website. And I mean, it's a long list, but all of the project documents are there. So that bid document consists of every single thing that's on that link.
Well, my other question is even working with other charter schools that are nearby and you know, pulling resources that way as well might be a great thing in the future to look at.
Okay, any additional questions about item B, the piggyback contract with Irvine from the board? Okay, hearing none, we have a motion and a second. We'll do a roll call vote. Director Agarwal?
Aye.
Director Jackson, aye. Director Kagu?
Aye.
Director Smith?
Aye.
Director Travis?
Aye.
This motion carries unanimously, piggyback contract. Okay, item C, approve revised OPA fiscal policies. The proposed revisions to OPA fiscal policies address and clarify the organization's sale and disposal of books, equipment, and supplies. Equipment acquired with federal funds and the number of signatures, including electronic, required on checks. It's recommended that the board of directors approve action item C. Is anybody going to present on this?
Ms. Palomino will be presenting on this.
Okay, would you like for her to present on this and then we can make motions and chat later?
Sure.
All right. Ms. Palomino, would you, okay, you're good.
And you're muted, so you need to unmute.
Okay. All right. So good evening. This presentation will highlight the updates to the Oxford Preparatory Academy Fiscal Policies Manual. Language was added under Section 2, Purchasing Policy, to identify the process of equipment purchase with federal funds. Process includes, but not limited to, labeling equipment with name of the project, an identification number, and labeling with locations such as the name of the school. Next is Board Policy 3270, which was board approved on May 27, 2021. And this provides guidance on the sale and disposal of books, equipment, and supplies. The fiscal manual was updated with this Section 10, which is broken up into 3 categories: instructional materials, equipment and/or supplies purchased with federal funds, and other personal property. This section includes criteria, but not limited to, public notice and an opportunity for the public to address the board. And lastly, language was added to identify the authorized use of electronic signature and the number of signatures given a dollar threshold. Checks and other payments equal to or above 15,000 shall require 2 signatures. Electronic signatures are okay. Checks and or payments below 15,000 require only 1 signature. Again, electronic signatures are okay. This language was added in section 2, purchasing policy, which is what you see on the left-hand side of the slide. And it was also added to section 7, banking, which is what's on the right side of the slide. This is OPA's current process. However, it was not reflected in our fiscal policies manual. Are there any questions?
All right, good. So
I had a couple of questions about some other sections that that were in the fiscal policy. And so, it's like one of those things when you read the whole document, all of a sudden you start noticing things. Can we ask now, or should we wait to make a motion?
Let's make a motion and then we can discuss
Okay.
and make any changes.
Okay. I'll make a motion then.
there you go. Director Smith is going to make a motion.
No, it's Travis.
Always Travis.
I'll
Oh, I'm
second it
sorry.
for you.
There you go. Perfect. Director Travis and Director Smith. Awesome. So we've got a motion in a second. Let's have a conversation. Delight, go ahead.
So there was a couple of questions that I had on page 49, under the section where it talks about volunteer coordinator collecting money. It made a point of saying that they may or shall put donor record information. And based on 990s, you actually need to maintain a written record. So the word should not be shall, it should be maintain a written record to be in compliance. And then the other thing is on page 57, there, I love that we have the 3% goal of and a 15% for 15% reserves, looking towards that. I know a while back we asked for like, what is other like schools doing about their reserves and what's their threshold? Can we make a point of revisiting that again to make sure that we're on the right level? And then my last one is on page 95, under the fundraising policy. This was something that I had asked Jill to update previously, is that because OPA has 2 different schools, they should have 2 different gift accounts, again, to be in compliance. And so it needs to actually address that in the policy itself. That's all I got for you.
So we can make those, we'll make those adjustments. And then in regards to the reserve, I know Rosa has been working on getting some information about different reserves that are surrounding charter schools have, as well as other surrounding school districts, kind of comparable size. And a lot of the different charter schools have not yet posted their budgets. Some of them don't post them at all. So I know Rosa and I were talking about this last week. It is a little difficult to get the information about different charter schools, but a lot of them, we're just kind of waiting for them to finalize and post their budgets. So we were planning on having a presentation on that on the September board meeting, just to kind of go over that. And then I know that the board had asked also for some salary comparisons to other districts. So kind of along those lines, also doing a presentation with that. So kind of like a sort of a full financial a presentation of sort of where we line up with other surrounding charter schools and school districts. So so Rosa and Mr. Barley and Ms. Openesic are all working on that for an upcoming board meeting for you.
Thank you.
Okay, so given the amount of revisions corrected to or shared right now, I don't know that are we prepared to move forward with approving these revisions, or do we need these revisions made and then resubmitted?
So it's kind of, it would be up to the board. We could, I think that Ms. Travis was pretty specific in the revisions. So I think we could just make a motion that we were approving it with those revisions that were outlined. Or if the board wanted us to bring it back for another action item, we could do that as well. So I would leave it up to the members of the board with what you're comfortable with.
Well, I feel like when she said very specifically and more than once that in order to, you need to make these changes in order to be compliant, intimating that we're not in compliance currently and wouldn't be with these fiscal policies. So I guess I'm not comfortable with, I mean, because the revision seems to be significant. And again, if they're necessary in order to be compliant and we're not now, then I would like to see this resubmitted in its entirety so we can review that. And maybe Director Travis can iterate through these changes with you outside of between now and next meeting. And so next time we see it, she will have had a chance to kind of weigh in on those revisions. If that's okay.
That's fine. I had given these revisions a while back to Jill, so I was surprised when I saw it in this fiscal policy not updated. So yeah.
There we go. So is there a mechanism in place, Amy, for when you post the agenda and that sort of thing that Director Travis can make recommendation as observations prior to the board meeting? Or is that one of those things that she can't say anything to you until the night of the board meeting, like what's happening right now?
No, usually whenever we post the agenda, we try to post all of the materials ahead of time. So I welcome any of the board members to definitely give us anything that they that they see that needs to be changed or that they would like to see changes to in advance if they have the time to go through that and give us those changes in advance, because we want to be able to be efficient. And so if we can make those changes before the board meeting, we're happy to do that.
Okay, so we've got a motion and a second right now. Do we want to, Director Travis, would you like to amend your motion to table this item for action C until the next board meeting pending those revisions?
Yes, I would like to make that motion.
Okay, may we have a second, please?
I'll second.
Director Smith, excellent. So we'll now have a roll call vote, please. Director Agarwal? We'll be back to you.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
So we're making the motion to table this until the
We
next.
are, and pending the revisions that Director Travis suggested we make tonight.
So I'm voting.
You're voting to table this until next board meeting.
Aye.
Okay, Director Jackson, aye. Director Kugu?
Aye.
Director Smith?
Aye.
And Director Travis?
Aye.
Okay, item C tabled and pending revisions until next month. 12, committee discussions, Academic Outcomes Committee.
All right. So I will quickly share my screen and we have 3 of our members of our Academic Outcomes Committee. So I will also invite my my fellow Academic Outcomes Committee members to join me, but we have been meeting as a committee, and you can see our committee members down at the bottom. We've been meeting as a staff committee with our two board member representatives, Director Smith and Director Agarwal, along with a pretty wide variety of different staff members. We have a parent representative, Ms. Hitzler, and some of our administrators, teachers, and we've been looking at our academic outcomes and really focusing on creating a champion profile, which is really looking at what skills and competencies and traits make a successful OPA champion kind of by the time they finish 8th grade. So Member Agarwal or Smith, did you have anything that you wanted to add? It's like an introduction. I don't want to take all the talking.
No, this is great introduction. I think just to tee it up a little bit more, we last left off going into summer, sharing the timeline with you and sort of the intended process. So a lot of work, even though many were away during the summer, still occurred, just gathering information to be prepared to then hit the ground running. So I appreciate all that occurred during the summer still. So when we had the group back together, we really were able to advance some informed conversation. So that's where we're picking up with this presentation today.
So as part of that work that we did over the summer and in our meeting that we had just last week, or actually this Monday, we were looking at, again, what are those skills and competencies that we want our students to have, and then sort of coming up with an all-encompassing kind of definition of what that looks like for OPA. And so in this last meeting, that's what we looked at, is kind of wordsmithing a definition, looking at some other graduate profiles, and just thinking about what it looks like here for us and our champions. And then also kind of looking at some icons that we could use as visuals for each one of these competencies. And then I think Director Kagu said earlier, we're working with a marketing company, and so we're going to be utilizing them as well. So these are just sort of icons that we pulled off of the internet as sort of a starting point, but then we're going to create some that are more unique to OPA. So one of the first competencies that the group came up with or looked at, and this was also with a lot of input with a survey that we put out as part of the strategic planning committee, as well as other LCAP surveys that we've put out in the past that have asked similar questions. So the first thing is critical thinking, and the draft definition that we came up with was critical thinkers understand the nature of problems, create innovative solutions, make informed decisions by using critical and creative thinking, logical reasoning, analysis, inquiry, and problem-solving techniques. They rigorously question ideas, tolerate ambiguity, and are open to new concepts. And then—
Can I just add, sorry, can I jump in before you go to the next category? I also wanted to say everything you're seeing here, yes, it was put together from a lot of different sources of information and reviewed by the group, but this is all draft form.
Mm-hmm.
Please don't take any of this as final. This is a discussion tonight and a first look at sort of the direction that the committee is looking at, but again, complete draft form.
Yeah, and even a draft form from the committee, because some of it we just met to put it together on Monday, and we're still kind of wordsmithing some of this. So, so like Director Smith said, this is definitely not a final copy, but we did want to share out with the board and with the community kind of where we were with it and some of our preliminary work. So, so again, for communication, effective communicators demonstrate leadership qualities and self-confidence through the ability to clearly express ideas, listen to others, adapt to diverse audiences, ask questions, collaborate, innovate, and think creatively. So again, the little icons were just things that we kind of pulled out of different places as starting points to come up with those OPA-fied icons. Also, character, you're going to see a theme in the starting letter of each one of these words as well. So they're all C words. But a person with strong character and compassion acts with integrity and honesty, treats themselves and others with love and respect, demonstrates concern for and personal commitment to the community, embraces diversity, and is culturally competent, and acts as a leader by standing up and advocating for others, especially those who cannot advocate for themselves. Creativity, the ability to think or design in innovative and useful ways. It's a process that requires comfort with uncertainty and the unfamiliar, the ability to see from different perspectives, flexibility, and courage to take on the risks involved in creating something new. It's important because it generates new possibilities, innovations, and solutions to problems that benefit the community. Collaboration requires sharing leadership and responsibility, working from strengths of self and others, following through on commitments, providing and receiving constructive feedback, and modifying ideas or approaches to benefit the group. Students create a sense of shared ownership by making sure each person's voice is heard, working respectfully together, and valuing team members' cultures, languages, and perspectives. And then finally, civic engagement. Our champions engage in activities working to make a difference in the civic life of one's community and developing the combination of skills, knowledge, values, and motivation to make that difference. They're aware of global issues and work to create better communities through service. And these in no way are, all encompassing in these definitions. And we had a couple of other different categories and like technology and more, knowledge-based, what are our kids actually going to know? And we in our discussions, we kind of looked at these as kind of being the big umbrella categories. And then a lot of those different things will fall under some of these categories. So in creating this champion profile, we'll have sort of these big umbrella ideas, but then some more specific expectations and outcomes for our students. So, kind of taking technology as one example, we thought that could fit in a variety of different ways. So critical thinking, we want our champions to be able to use technology in ways that allow for higher levels of critical thinking. Also, it fits under communication. I mean, we're all on Zoom right now. And so using having our champions be able to use technology to improve their communication and be able to communicate in a bigger variety of different ways. So, so again, kind of looking at these 6 C's as being the big overarching capabilities that our students have. And then after this work, we're going to be looking at what are those outcomes or specific expectations that would fall under each of these categories. And then also looking at, and that's actually, I can kind of go to my next slide, but then looking at mapping those expectations to different standards and setting performance indicators. So at what level do we want our students to be able to do those different things? And that will kind of lead us in our timeline to present a draft of the finalized graduate. And we actually, at first, we're calling this a graduate profile, but then through our discussions in with the group, we decided to change that to be a champion profile, because it's not really where, it's not really what we want our students to graduate with. It's what we want them to have at each different level as they progress through OPA. And so kind of following this work in December, then going back and looking at the different grade bands. So then what does it look like when a champion leaves primary and enters, upper elementary school? And then what does this look like when one of our champions leaves upper elementary school to go into middle school? So then really backwards mapping it and setting those expectations across the board for all of our different grade spans. Should my fellow committee members have anything else to add?
I'll add that we're excited to bring these drafts to our professors and get their input on what this would look like in their classrooms. And so not only are they kind of broad definitions, but we also are getting the input of our staff and professors. And also by showing what it looks like, we have some real practices that can go in this profile as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we're going to be using some of our collaboration time with our staff to have them really look at what this looks like in the classroom. So then as part of that mapping and performance indicators, having those examples of what are we doing in the classroom specifically to make sure that we're giving our champions, practice and ways to really learn and grow these different capabilities and skills.
We really want everyone to be happy, satisfied, and proud about where this lands. So making sure that this is an inclusive process is super important to us. So please, board members, let us know, is this reflecting what you're hearing like in the focus groups and in other conversations you're having with stakeholders? And I'm not saying you have to do that in this moment, but we're trying to build in the process all these opportunities for feedback across constituency groups and stakeholder groups, so that we do come out with an end product that everybody feels like super proud about, and that will really be something that attracts people to the school. So yeah, this is, I can't I feel like highlight enough how important this will be, because it won't just be this thing we put on the shelf. It really will become ingrained into so much in the classroom, in the culture, and just everywhere.
I think this is wonderful. Thank you guys for all the time and effort to put this together. I think it's really commendable about really creating a stronger structure and baseline for all of the kiddos.
Yeah, what Director Smith was saying, we really want everyone to have ownership of this and really be able to utilize this to get everyone moving forward in the same direction, with those same expectations, and all of us moving in the same direction, and knowing where we want our champions to be when they leave OPA and throughout their entire time at OPA.
Okay.
All right, thank you so much. And thank you to all of the committee members for all of their hard work and collaboration, and for being part of the committee and coming back on Monday after summer break and getting right to work.
Actually, I'm sorry, before you close this out, I just had one comment. This is just like the beginning stages, right? We're just defining what everything is, and then we'll be more prescriptive about what this means in our classroom at each grade level. So I just wanted to explain that this is, just a very high level, and we'll be drilling down as we go through this process.
Anybody, that's an open question, I feel like, right? Amy, does somebody want to answer that?
No, that was just a comment for me because I'm on the committee. So I was
Director Agarwal is on the committee, so I think she was kind of just expressing where we're going and what our thoughts are behind it.
Yeah.
Lots of work into that for sure. So what a great update. Thank you for that. Okay, any additional comments or questions from the board on the Academic Outcomes Committee? Okay, so hearing none, we'll move on to community input on non-agendized items. Are there any public comments?
We do not have any public comments.
All righty then. The hotly debated adjournment topic. It's recommended the board adjourn the regular meeting of the Oxford Preparatory Academy Board of Directors on the 19th. May I have a motion, pretty please?
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Director Travis, may I have a second?
I second it.
All right, Director Tagu. So anybody want to debate this or ask questions about it, or are we ready to vote on it? All right, here, let's vote on it. Director Agarwal.
Nay, no.
Oh,
I just want to spend more time with everybody. But today I'll just say aye.
fair enough. Director Jackson, aye. Director Kagu.
Aye.
Director Smith.
Aye.
Director Travis.
Aye.
All right, carries unanimously. We are adjourned at 9:01.
We have the
Night, everyone.
youngest board attendee on the call today.
I was going to say.
So cute.
Yeah, he's getting ready for bedtime. So,
Oh,
so he's super cute. Just
I'm
super
so glad
small.
we got
still.
to see him.
Yeah. So we'll have a good night, everybody. I got to go put him down.
Yes,
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Everyone.
Thank you.
I'm just going to tell you guys good night. Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
See you later.
Bye. Jackie just entered the waiting room.
I know, I just saw that. Let me let her in and tell her the meeting is over.
Everybody.
Hey, Jackie. We're done.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I got kicked out and I was trying to get back in.
That's what I figured. So I didn't want you to just be like sitting around in the waiting room wondering why no one was letting you in.
Oh, okay. No problem. All right. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Okay.
Here we go.